Maybe you looked at spot price of gold or silver, saw that it was down, and your first thought was that some bit of bad news must be causing this because it's the bad news that rules gold and silver prices. Or is it? The prices of gold and silver move on a lot of factors. Some negative, some positive. I think we know that, but we don't hear it. If we took a good look at which types of factors get the headlines around here, it's the negative kind. I suppose that makes sense. If you were to make content about gold and silver and you only thought of them as insurance against economic calamity, well, your content is going to be about economic calamity. A bag of hammers looking for a nail. Now, right now, we're seeing a really good example of the price of both gold and silver moving significantly, not because this calamity or that is right around the next corner, but because traders actually think there's something positive coming. I mean, we need to set the stage here. We're looking at spot price of gold dipping back into the 2500s in intraday trade. Silver flirting with sub $30 again. Those drops are significant, and they're not entirely unexpected. If you were to look at the presidential elections going all the way back to 1976, you would see the election of a Republican president has led to an average 4.5% decline in gold price within 60 days. That's compared to an average 3.8% rise for a Democrat win. Now, that's according to Bullion Vault. Those are pretty specific statistics. We're going to assume they're accurate. Now, a quick shout out to channel sponsor Summit Metals. If you're looking for gold or silver, hey, they have them. They've got great prices on American Gold Eagles. I mean, really great prices, but they have more than Eagles, of course. And like always, don't just take my word on it. Get in there, check them out for yourself. SummitMetals.com. Back to the idea that a positive implication could affect gold and silver price. And I'm not talking about the election here, that the candidate you wanted won the election. I'm talking about actual positive economic implications. Now, I've mentioned that a significant amount of the current price influence for gold has been coming from Western investors lately. We can see that from the inflows to gold ETFs like GLD or IAU. Western investors have been pouring into gold derivatives. Now, the speed of those trades is pretty clear when you add something like Bitcoin to the mix. The gold ETF IAU is a BlackRock product, and to make Bitcoin trading even easier, they have a Bitcoin ETF as well. It's called IBIT. If you're a trader and you expected Trump to win, you could have sold IAU on Friday, moved it into IBIT, and came out with a pretty big week. Look, none of that was a recommendation. It's just a comment on how easy it is to trade assets these days and switch from risk off to risk on with just a few taps. Now, if you caught the specifics of that statistic that I used, though, going back to 1976, that was a 4.5% decline in gold price versus a 3.8% rise in gold price. That was the average impact on the first 60 days following the election. So that was a short-term impact. And we aren't really on here to talk about quick trades with gold and silver. We're talking about the long-term hold of physical gold. So a drop in gold price to me doesn't seem like a missed trade. It seems like an opportunity to control my average cost. So a dip in price is a discount. This double eagle was not intended to be a trade. And since we're talking about physical gold, maybe we should do a quick overview of what we're looking at here. Pre-33 double eagles are 90% gold content by weight. The remaining 10% in the alloy is silver and copper. This commemorative double eagle is 24K. So same design as pre-33, but it's 1 ounce of pure gold. Now, to make this even more confusing, a modern American Gold Eagle has 1 ounce of pure gold content, but it's a 22 karat coin. It has an alloy of 91.67% gold, 3% silver, 5.33% copper. Now, it doesn't matter if it's the Type 2 design with the angry eagle or the Type 1 with the happy family of eagles. I think I have one in here somewhere. All we really need to remember is that modern eagles have as much gold as any other 1 ounce modern gold coin. They're just hardened with silver and copper, so an American Gold Eagle weighs more than 1 ounce. Now, this is a little bit more of a sidetrack than I was expecting, but here's the Type 1, family of eagles on the reverse. I know this can be confusing because the designs and the names of these coins are all so similar. We have a modern American Gold Eagle. It's a 22 karat coin. We've got a 2009 ultra high relief double eagle commemorative. That's a 24 karat coin. And then, of course, the pre-33 Liberty head that's 90% gold content by weight. So we shouldn't really have to cover this every time, but physical and virtual is different. I don't buy physical gold to trade, and there are more interesting things than GLD and IAU anyway. I do a little bit of trading though, and that's where these short-term swings, I guess, get a little bit more interesting. I've mentioned SLV holdings before. That's the iShares silver equivalent of GLD. Well, I sold out of my silver ETF holdings last week ahead of the election, and I bought some Bitcoin. Now, there are always going to be people around here who just aren't excited about Bitcoin. It's totally fine, but that was an example of a short-term trade. It's purely about price movement, and so far, it's done well. But like I said, I'm generally not looking for quick profits in precious metals. Physical gold, the kind of things you see on the desk here, purely about savings to me. A bit of a calamity insurance, sure, but primarily it's just a standard savings that grows enough to stay ahead of inflation. In 2008, I got beat up on pretty much everything I thought I'd been doing right, and that was really what made me look at gold and silver seriously for the first time. Now, I bring that up because I wasn't buying gold in 2008 for what I thought might happen later in 2008 or even 2009. I was thinking years ahead. Now, if that kind of crash occurred again, well, maybe I would have something to help balance it out. And that would be why I'm buying now and why a dip in price is actually a pretty good thing. Now, $2,580 would be a 4.5% drop if we're using figures from immediately before the election results. So if we see that in the next 50 days or so, Trump's win will fall in line with that average effect on gold price within 60 days of Republican wins. Now, I think it goes without saying that there's never been a Republican win that resulted in gold price staying down 4.5%. I'm going to say it anyway. Gold price goes up over time. And if we see the kind of inflation that some are projecting, it could go up a fair amount. So with that in mind, this is a dip. It's not a rally being canceled. So 4% dip, I guess 6.5% dip if you wanted to go from the intraday high to the intraday low. But that really doesn't make sense. You'd have to go back just over 8 weeks to the beginning of September to get back to the spot price we're seeing today. So in that regard, we get a rare do-over. If you're someone who thinks, I wish I would have bought gold when it was cheaper, well, you get to roll back the clock a few months at least. I think I mentioned a few videos back that I would rather buy on the way down. Well, I had just bought at that time, and that purchase was about $90 higher than it is today. So the point is that if you check spot price today and you see that it's down, you should line it up with the reason. It's actually good to see gold coming down a bit in a case like this, coming down on potential positive economic outlook, rather than gold price spiking on some kind of persistent negative outlook or some kind of imminent calamity like the people get so excited about. But remember, we're talking about short-term price movement here. This isn't a negative, but I've seen inbound Trump policy called a chaos grenade because he's about to shake some things up. So if you like the idea of chaos and price gains, well, I have to think we have a little bit of that in our future as well. Something to look forward to. Let's call it good there. Let us know what you think of the price drop in gold and silver. Is that a good thing to you? Let us know. And then while you're in the comments, be sure to hit that like button if you found any of this interesting. Be sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on if you want to hear more on the topic. And if you're still here, thanks again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.